it did. We sold, we got the t-shirts given to us for free, and we sold them for a tenner a pop. We had a board outside the awning saying thanks to everybody that bought it, and we did a chat round the car, and that paid for the set of tyres for the weekend, and it genuinely wouldn't have happened without them. So, I do owe a massive thanks to everybody who's supporting me, sort of especially over the last 5.5 years. It's really incredible to see and reward those people that have been there from the beginning, now with being in the British Touring Car. So it's amazing.
For me personally, I feel like it's great to see you back out on the track, because I've seen you like in the old Janetta Juniors, and you looked like a cheeky chappy back then. But I mean, to be honest, I think it's really great that you're back out on the track, and hopefully we want to see like more of you as the years go on. That's for me personally.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
I genuinely believe that once you get the setup in that car, it's going to be only a matter of time before we challenge you for race wins. As we've got Plato and Matt Neal having battles, and I've gone for years, I think it's going to be you and Aaron Smith, to be perfectly honest. And I've kind of got split loyalties there, because Aaron's done some fantastic stuff for us in the past as well, with charities and stuff. So but I think that's a great thing about being a BTCC fan, is there's it's okay to support every driver. We just we enjoy the racing that much, and the new drivers coming through now are actually so media savvy, going through, whereas perhaps 10-15 years ago they didn't have the TV coverage. When it all come new, the programs were a bit rough and ready. Now we've had the BTCC on ITV4 for a fair few years now. I think the drivers are actually coming into the paddock with very, very media savvy and very, very switched on, and being able to present the sponsors in the best light. And without that, the racing happens, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, to kind of just go on from that, like, I'm currently at Leeds Beckett University studying sports marketing. So, I and I try and focus everything that I can from that onto motorsport. So, for example, my dissertation next year is going to be about how sponsors use digital media, and how they value that in their sponsorship deals at World RX, because obviously that's where I've been working and have the experience. So, I'm actively sort of pursuing a career, not just in motorsport in terms of driving, but also in the marketing side.
Yeah,
we find it very, very interesting. So, we're learning about both sides of the coin now.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there comes a point in every driver's career where you decide that you want to hang up the helmet, and if it is that for example, Jason Plato's got brand pilots, hasn't he? So I mean, it's an interesting one, that if you can make money by being your own agent, by putting your own sponsors' logos on the car, by doing all the sponsorship deals for the team as well, it gives you more longevity in the British Touring Car Championship, because you're actually self-sustaining your racing as you go through, aren't you?
That's it, and that's kind of like how I've viewed it. When we stopped racing in 2012, I knew that I wasn't going to be a normal rich kid type driver, essentially, in that I couldn't just go and afford to do testing, or couldn't afford to keep going and doing races. So I had to choose a very different tack, and that was to go to university and study sports marketing, so that I could sell that sponsorship, and it is now actually sort of working.
Yeah, and and again, the ability to pitch and do everything else helps with the media interviews, and you can see some people do it more subliminally, and start like putting the product placement, the hats on, and all that kind of stuff. And I think the sponsors get better value when it's communicated rather than just subliminal, and a hat on, a Red Bull fridge in a corner, that kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting to hear a driver actually consider that side of their career, really, as well. I mean, the other question I really wanted to ask you as well is, some drivers go like, once the lights turn green and that you dump the clutch and you go. Do you go into a state of calmness, or a state of red flag to red rag to a bull and off you go. You know, does driving at that sort of speed relax you or?
It's a weird one, to be honest. Beforehand, you get really nervous, and I think my heart rate on the grid is quite high. You know, it's pounding, it's ready to go. But when you, quite honestly, by the time you've let off the clutch and pulled second gear, you've not got enough time to think about being nervous or sort of any kind of emotions. You just do what you do. And to be honest, I've been racing since I was 8, so kind of racing doesn't really worry me, if you see what I mean. I'm kind of just second nature. You know, I go into a corner behind a car and I read the situation of what's going to happen when we come out before it's even happened. You know, so I just do it like I sat here talking to you guys. You know, it's not a conscious effort to think, all right, we're going into here and this is going to happen. It just kind of happens, and don't know how, just does.
Yeah, I always remember in 2005, I was marshalling at the Alton Park ground, and I remember saying to Matt Neal, I was asking about Cascades, and I asked him how he took Cascades Corner.
Awesome.
And he turned around and said he couldn't tell me because he'd never had his eyes open around there. Just sort of hit the gear, shut his eyes and turned in, and he never had a crash, so he just kept doing it.
And that's it. You just gotta hope you don't find anybody in the track halfway.
Yeah, how true that is, you know, I don't know, but like, you know, it was such an off the cuff answer. It just always stuck with me. You know, it was really good.
Maybe it isn't quite true, but it might be something like that. Cascades is an awesome corner that you've really got to commit to early, and once you get down into that camber, you're kind of sucked in. So
I remember being there when they first had the NGTC cars. They have the Fun Cup, you know, the single make Beetle bits.
Oh yeah.
I was doing testing for one of them, and I was going down the avenue going into Cascades, and I did about 75, 80, you know, in this Beetle. and Tom Ingram came past me like I was parked. It was just like a blur, and all I saw was Tingram in the back window, and that was it. It was just like, I really need to come in the next lap because everybody's doing about 50, 60 miles an hour more than me, and that's just, you know, it's not a good idea to drive constantly looking in the rearview mirror.
No.
So
to be honest, I know the feeling of that from Saturday. I spent a lot of time looking in my rearview mirror trying to get out of the way of faster cars. But it will be nice. I think the other thing is we'll develop a lot more on the Saturday this time at Snetterton because we're just not so far off the pace. Like my first run, I was 5 seconds off the pace, so people were just catching me like left, right, and centre. So every other lap, I was having to get out of somebody's way. So it was quite nice to be in the race around sort of cars that were a similar pace, and just be able to concentrate on myself and not have to think, crikey, you know, I've got someone on a hot lap behind me who's going for a pole. And
do you find then that there's massive chunks when you actually take, you know, you've got all this experience of racing now, you get a brand new racing car that you haven't sat in, you go out and do a test, you know, does the actual time, you know, come in big chunks straight away, or is it always constantly shaving those fractions of a second off, or do you find there's a massive amount of development and then it's just that last second to try and get sorted?
Yeah, to be honest, you find big chunks quickly.
Right.
It gets harder and harder and harder the less time you've got to find. So I can get very excited about the fact that we've gone from 3.2 seconds off the pace in qualifying to 1.9 by the end of race 3. But I know that realistically the next second to find will be hard but potentially possible.
Right.
And the second after that will be very, very difficult. You know, the guys at the front of British touring cars aren't there because they're slow. You know, they are very people. They've got very, very good engineers and teams behind them, and it's going to take myself a little bit of time to get to that level, and the team as well. So, you know, we both know that, and we're both kind of just looking forward to being able to get the rest of this season under our belts and move forward, ready to kind of go and do the business next year.
you.